Hey guys, in this video I'm going to compare the original iPad Air with the iPad Air 2, which was just released this week. The original iPad Air features a 254 ppi screen, 1.3 GHz A7, a gigabyte of RAM, 1.2 megapixel front camera, 5 megapixel rear camera, and it all comes in a 7.5 millimeter thin package. The iPad Air 2, of course, comes in the gold option, same screen as before. This time it features 1.5 gigahertz A8X processor, 2 gigabytes of RAM, a better front camera, as well as a 8 megapixel rear camera, same battery, and it's thin. This thing is 6.1 millimeters thin, and it has a Touch ID. So let's take a look at the boxes right away. As you can see, the pictures are different on the boxes. Thank God. It actually helps differentiate. There's an Apple logo on the side of the box now, and this is going to help people sort of differentiate between the iPad Air original and the iPad Air 2. I know with the Mini and the Retina Mini, a lot of people got confused with the boxes. I'm going to apologize for this gross screen protector on the original iPad, but it's actually one of my family members, so I don't want to take it off. And let's just take a look at it. This thing is thin. It's 6.1 millimeters thin. The original iPad Air is 7.5 millimeters thin, so it feels much lighter, and it feels honestly, it feels nicer as well. Here you can see exactly how thin it is. Like, this video doesn't really do it much justification. When I was holding both of them side by side and putting them on top of each other, I could really tell that the new one was really thin. The speaker holes are different in the new one compared to the other one, and there's a bunch of other changes as well. The microphone location has changed to where the camera is, and I think there's another microphone on the side as well, whereas the older one doesn't have it. The volume up and down buttons are really recessed, and this little mute switch is gone now. So let's go ahead and boot this thing, as well as the original one. I apologize once again for that screen protector, but you guys will get used to it pretty quick. And the new iPad Air 2 has a really nice screen. It's thin, and it's all one layer as opposed to a layer of glass digitizer and then the touch portion. So there you go. The iPad 2 obviously loaded much quicker. First of all, we're gonna go ahead and test out Angry Birds, the new one, the Transformers one. I noticed this one took a while to load on my phone, so I thought it'd be the perfect app to try out on the new iPad to see this apparently huge graphical improvement that they went through. Yeah, this is weird. You'll see that the iPad Air 1 was loading faster for a bit, and then the iPad Air 2 jumped up, and obviously finished first, but not a huge difference. Here you can see almost 3-4 seconds of delay between the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Air 1. So I'm just gonna go ahead and play this game a little bit. Pretty much loading at the same time here, which is pretty expected. They're both really high-end devices. So far, yeah, performance honestly looks literally the same. Like, I cannot tell if there's a difference between either of them. If you guys can see a difference, let me know in the comments below. But so far it looks like it's the exact same. The iPad Air 1 is pretty specced out in my opinion, and iOS is really efficient, so I think almost any game is going to be playable. Next, we're going to go ahead and do a quick browser test. I'm only going to load one website. I know these weird benchmarks and everything like that are sort of a waste of time. I mean, in the real world, you're not going to notice much of a performance difference. So that's why I only really want to look at one website as opposed to going to like 30 different websites and getting some really mixed results. It happens in every other test. Even like slow phones sometimes beat faster phones. So we're just going to go to the Verge really quick. And honestly, obviously it's going to load faster on the new iPad. Apple does this every single year where they improve everything about the iPad a little bit, the iPad, iPhone, etc., just to make the old one seem like, you know, it's not that good. One thing I noticed they do this is with Wi-Fi chips. So here you see is the new iPad Air 2 loaded faster, but it wasn't a huge difference. The brain and the bottom left obviously loaded almost 3 seconds quicker compared to the iPad Air 1, and here it's loading much quicker too, but it's 3 seconds of difference, which I guess you'll only notice if you're comparing the two side by side. So here's one thing I noticed: the iPad Air 2 was actually taking longer to install an app compared to the iPad Air 1. I was installing some benchmark apps, and we're just gonna go ahead and go through two of them. The first one is 3D Mark. I really want to see how much better the 3D performance is under the new Air compared to the older one. They really touted and said that the new iPad Air had much better graphical performance. I think it was 180 times better. So expect a lot from this thing. So they're finished much quicker, and you're gonna see that throughout all these tests, the iPad Air 2 does much better. I would say it's honestly like 20% faster compared to the first iPad, which is a pretty decent upgrade in my opinion. I mean, you can't expect a 50% speed improvement every single year. If you did, then devices would become much more obsolete really quick, and things like the iPad Air 2, I mean the iPad normal 2, nobody would be using that anymore. However, people can still use it and it's still perfectly fine. So the benchmark's almost done here, and the iPad Air 2 is winning. No surprise there, honestly. And so the score is almost 22,000. Pretty impressive, I would say. And let's see how it fares up to the iPad Air 1. And here we are. It's done. It's 14,000. So there's about 7,000, 7,000, almost 7,000 score difference. Pretty significant in my opinion. And I'm just gonna show you guys one thing that confirms that this thing has 2 gigabytes of RAM. Apple doesn't mention that it has 2 gigabytes of RAM, but that benchmark right there confirmed it, and it's good. Honestly, the RAM will be used up in the future, so it's good that they finally upgraded it rather than making it the exact same as the iPhone 6. Now we're gonna run AnTuTu benchmark. This takes a look at a few different things such as processor, graphical performance, etc. Something I found really weird was that the iPad Air 1 was performing better compared to the iPad Air 2 speed-wise for the actual benchmark getting finished. However, the graphical test, I noticed I was getting about 25 frames per second, sometimes 20, sometimes even lower than that. So the iPad Air 1 has a little bit of graphic issues, surprisingly. No one would have guessed this until this new one came out, but yeah, with the latest graphics, the new iPad Air 2 will definitely take the most advantage of it compared to the older iPad. Here, the iPad Air 1 is onto some other tests, while the Air 2 is still doing the 3D one. This 3D video test graphics test is being run at almost 60 frames per second compared to the iPad Air 1 of 20, so it's almost 3 times faster. It's pretty impressive in my opinion, but I doubt there's going to be many games that actually take advantage of this, and we'll see what happens in the future. Next year, obviously, the iPad Air 3 is going to have even better graphics performance, but I don't think any games are actually going to require that for a while. So on the right hand side, you can see that the AnTuTu benchmark's almost finished on the iPad Air 1, still going on the iPad Air 2. I think this might have something to do with the app not being optimized for the new iPad Air 2, but who knows, lots of things are possible. It's also the iPad Air 2 is on iOS 8.1, and the iPad Air is on iOS 8, so maybe that's why it's really tripping up this program. And so iPad Air was done. For some reason I scored below what I should have got. I only got 38,000, whereas I should have got almost 42,000, and apparently it's even faster than the 5S. I thought they were pretty much the same performance wise, but I guess not. and we'll see what the iPad Air 2 gets. It's a pretty fast device. However, if you're comparing these two side by side, it doesn't feel like a huge change. So yeah, the iPad Air 2 scores a 61,000. Oh man, this thing is almost twice as fast, 1.5 times fast, I would say. And yeah, pretty good. According to these benchmarks, it's way faster, but sometimes benchmarks don't really show real life results. Here is some camera comparisons between the two. The iPad Air 2 is going to be on the left, and the iPad Air 1 is going to be on the right. Honest to God, I was really disappointed by the camera on the iPad Air 2. I thought it would be a big, significant upgrade, but it's really not. It's really mediocre in my opinion, and it has a better megapixels and obviously a better resolution pictures come out. But other than that, they're okay. In low light performance, it's a little bit better, as you can see here. The original iPad was much more grainy. It's really hard to tell from these pictures, but here's the front-facing camera results. Not a huge upgrade at all, and I'm sort of really disappointed that they at least didn't upgrade the front camera. A lot of people use FaceTime a lot, but yeah. Take a look at this video comparison with the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Air 1. I was having a bit of issues with the iPad 2 Air video at first, but now it seems to be working okay. Honestly, I know the iPad 2 is supposed to have a better camera, but I'm not seeing a massive difference at all between the two. Here you can sort of see that there is a bit of difference, and honestly, the camera's not a huge upgrade at all. So should you upgrade to the iPad Air 2? Well, I would say if you have an iPad Air 1, hold off for another year, because even though there's a pretty decent amount of improvements here, they're only improvements if you put the two devices side by side. Otherwise, I don't think you're really going to notice a few seconds of difference. I mean, in most cases, it's 3 seconds of difference. If you have anything prior to that, yes, definitely upgrade. This thing is lighter, nicer, just better in every single way compared to older iPads. Just like the big jump from all the older iPads to the iPad Air was last year. If you for some reason still held off, this is the perfect time to upgrade. I mean, it has everything you could possibly want, other than the camera, of course. That's obviously going to improve next year, and they might even improve the battery next year and even the screen. But for now, if you have an iPad Air 1, don't upgrade. If you have anything older, yes, definitely pick it up. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you guys enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe as well, and please share the video if you can as well. And I hope to see you guys in my next video. Thank you.